morning everyone, this is John with Gun.Deals. Today we are going to take a look at the old school but still cool LWRC M6A1 G. But before we get into that, while you are here, go ahead and do the things YouTube doesn't want you to do. Like, share, subscribe, and go ahead and comment your favorite AR piston system in the comments down below. Now, full disclosure, I have no relationship with LWRC whatsoever. I am in general a fan of a lot of their products, but this upper receiver was actually sent in to me by a viewer of my personal channel, and so he has allowed me to do a review of this system. Now, getting back to the LW M6A1 G, this is one of the earlier models of LWRC's piston rifles, so if you are more familiar with their newer offerings, there have been some changes throughout the years. Getting into the basics of this model, we have a 14.5-inch 5.56 upper. These shipped with just a standard A2 flash hider, but here we have a pin and weld Rearden dual port brake, which also serves as our suppressor mount. The barrel itself is not the fancy spiral fluted barrels that you will find on their current offerings, but it is a fairly heavy profile, Nicor treated barrel that I believe is cold hammer forged as well, with a twist rate of 1 in 7. The short stroke piston system is approximately carbine length, utilizing a modified A2 front sight block. There is also a M6A2 version of this with a slightly longer quad rail and no FSB, but otherwise a very similar system. The quad rail on the A1 variant is a two-piece design that clamshell bolts to the barrel nut from the bottom via 4 bolts. The top section is easily removable just by loosening the 2 forward-facing screws that hold the handguard together. This is one of those systems where the side and bottom rails are actually more suitable for laser aiming modules than the top rail because of the two-piece design. So the old broom handle setups with the switch taped to one side can actually make sense for this style of rifle, and it is of course a vibe. Talking about the short stroke piston operating system, it is non-adjustable but does a really good job of venting out those extra gases. You can still find these complete rifles for sale at just over $1,000 on a couple of websites out there as police trade-in models. Now, if you look at some of the photos of these well-used rifles, you can see that the piston system dumps all that excess gas and heat right into the top of the handguard. With the rail being so short by today's standards and dead-ending in a FSB heatsink, I would recommend wearing gloves at all times with this rifle. Moving back to the upper receiver, this is a fairly standard forged mil-spec affair with a Aero Precision looking roll mark. The owner of this upper is using a Daniel Defense charging handle, which is actually quite nice. This is my first time using one. I believe that these shipped with LWRC's rear folding sight, and I have to say, it is very nice. It utilizes a rotating diopter to switch between day and night or the more open or closed setting, but with nothing to flip out of the way, it actually lays perfectly flat all the time. Very nice. Now, talking about the BCG for a minute, this is an older design from what they're using now and is very reminiscent of what you would get with either Superlative Arms or a Adams Arms piston system that you can buy today. The piston strike face is machined into the carrier so that it is one piece, which is essentially a necessity on a piston system where you have a steel rod smashing into your carrier to get the rifle to cycle. The carrier rails have been cut in the middle and extended out to increase carrier stability, and in the back it is enlarged to better fill the buffer tube area and reduce carrier tilt, which can be another downside of the off-center strike face of a piston system. Getting into shootability and reliability so far has been perfect. Now, shootability on the other hand has been very interesting. Even though it is not an adjustable setup, it was tuned about perfectly from the factory. So far in my testing, I've used a H2 buffer and a standard spring, so keep that in mind. With basic 55 grain ball, it was ejecting smoothly at around 3 o'clock, which is perfectly acceptable. And then when a suppressor was added to the mix, in this case both a YHM Turbo K and Resonator K, it started ejecting ever so slightly forward at about 230. So while yes, adding a high back pressure can will increase your bolt velocity, this LWRC piston system actually does a really good job of dumping the excess pressure fast enough that it doesn't violently accelerate the system. As you can see in some of this 1000 FPS slow-mo, when unsuppressed, very little gas proportionally is vented out of the piston, but when a suppressor is added, it vents almost all of that gas as fast as possible. Now, as far as the feels go, it feels like a good piston system. Definitely not the best out there in terms of flatness and perceived recoil, but again, good. Keep in mind that these were always designed as a hard use style of rifle, so the fact that they handle suppressed and unsuppressed shooting so well, despite the lack of adjustability, just means LWRC got it right in terms of gassing on the barrel itself and the way that the piston system operates. Now, I'm going to have this upper for a little while longer, so I'm going to be doing more in-depth testing and evaluation on it, with some accuracy testing and hopefully some more distance shooting as well. So far, for let's say $1,000 to $1,200, depending on where you can find these at this point, it's really not bad for a piston system. Now, I would not go out of my way and get this over any DI system in the same price category, and I think you can do quite a bit better for about the same money with more modern features. But as a cool retro piece that is still very functional, I actually like the thing quite a bit. Now, downsides of a piston quad rail FSB are going to be that it's a little bit heavier. I think these came in at over 7 pounds for the entire rifle, which by today's standard is about a pound, pound and a half too heavy, at least for some people. But that's about all that I got for this video, guys. Let me know what you think of the LWRC M6A1 G in the comments down below. And with all that out of the way, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. I will see you in the next one. Peace off. Looks like a really bad set primer by Callaway Ballistics. But that looks pretty deep, because it looks like a good strike, so. Not sure there.